What's up, guys and girls? It's Will here, and today I will be talking to you guys about something a little different from our past videos. That's right, it's what's going to be in the title right there. So, some of you guys come to my videos looking for some sort of moral or conclusion at the end of the video that might guide you. Well, this one, I can't guarantee you it'll have it. Maybe it will for some of you, but at least it will offer you some entertainment and maybe a different perspective on things. I think the whole story is pretty interesting. So, if you like this video, please subscribe if you haven't, and like it also. Helps me out. So let's get started. So, I come from an Asian background with Asian parents, and back when I was in elementary school and middle school and some high school, I used to go to, that's right, buffets a lot. Now, I would say I would go like once every 3 to 4 months, but nowadays it's like once every 1 or 2 years. But back then we used to go a lot, and I can't really say why. I'm not sure if it was an Asian thing or maybe just a family thing, but we really like buffets. And obviously they wouldn't be the normal buffets, they would be the Asian ones. In fact, looking back, I don't think I ever actually went to an American buffet. The closest I've ever been was probably like a breakfast buffet at a hotel for vacation. I've been to a lot of those. But yes, all my buffets have been straight up, completely Asian buffets. I'm talking the ones where they have a bucket of fortune cookies. Okay, it wouldn't be in a bucket, it'd be like in those like glass bowls. A glass bowl of fortune cookies at the front desk each time you walked in. So, for those of you who don't know what a buffet is, you know, the people not from like our nation or whatever, a buffet in America is something where you pay a standard amount when you walk in, like 10 to 20 USD. And then from there you could go in and eat as much as you want from the plethora of food that's available. And so back then we used to go quite a lot, and I was known to be able to eat so much stuff. I was known at my Chinese church especially for eating, because after service we would have a lunch at church and they would bring Chinese food for us to eat for lunch, and we would pay like a small amount. But I don't want to go on too huge of a tangent, but essentially, you know, I worked in the kitchen when I was a teen for the Chinese church, just making the meals from the Chinese restaurant we ordered. We pretty much buy like tanks full of food and then like organize them into plates to sell for $2 a piece after service. And I was known, I mean, because we were part of the kitchen staff, whatever leftover food there was, and oftentimes there was a whole lot we could eat, so I was known to be that guy who could eat literally anything and I would not gain weight. I was always known as a skinny guy, and I would be the guy who could eat more than the fat people and I'd still be skinny. It was ridiculous. Like, I still remember at the Chinese church services, I would have a plate that was like almost half a foot high, filled with food, and no one else's plate would compare, and I would just eat all that and I'd still be skinny. And it was a bit of a thing, that a blessing that, you know, I never really was grateful for until recently. And at times I was not humble about it, and you know, people got a little jealous because there were, you know, slightly larger people on the fat side who definitely did not eat as much as me, and here I was, constantly skinny, constantly eating all this fast food. And at least from where I was from, I was like an anomaly because everyone else was watching their weight. They didn't want to eat for whatever reason, save 1 or 2 rare people who I met who possibly could have contended with me. Anyhow, back on track with the main story, buffets. So I was known to eat quite a lot. I enjoyed food, and until later in life in high school when I realized although my outside appearance was fine, my insides were clogged up, and when I joined track and field I realized I was super slow and the food was catching up to me. So moral of that story, a little snippet, you may look good on the outside, but even if you have the blessing that I do where I can eat whatever I want and not gain a tremendous amount of weight, you still gotta keep your insides well by exercising, or just don't eat as much and eat healthier. Anyhow, back to the main story about buffets. So back when I was younger and I didn't have a care in the world for health or anything like that, and at least from the outside it looked like I was freaking able to eat everything and everything, and anything and everything, and boom, I would just metabolize it all. So what I would do would be, we would buy the entry fee or whatever you call it, and then we would rush into the buffet line, and usually there was no line there, and so we were supposed to be seated at our tables that were standard Chinese restaurant tables, but I just usually sat at the table for like 2 seconds and then rushed off to the trays of food. So if you've never been to a buffet, this is how it works. After you pay the entry fee, there are these huge lines of food with just like trays and trays of stuff in them. And there's about 20 to 30, if not more, different trays. And at least for Chinese buffets, Asian buffets, you always have the sesame chicken. You have the fried rice, white rice, noodles, and that's my most favorite part of the buffet. But on top of that, they have, even American food. They had pizza, French fries, they had soda, of course, but that cost extra. And, they had an ice cream machine that came with it, and desserts, fruits, tons and tons of Chinese food, seafood, just Google it. I mean, you can pretty much imagine what kind of food they have there. And if you don't, you can go to a buffet yourself. But essentially, we had like 20 or 30 entrees of, Chinese food. And on the back of that, if we go to like a famous, or not famous, but like more well-known buffet place, they often even had stuff like soup and random stuff like that. And what do you call those things? It's like the freaking the thing where you put the meat, the raw meat, you give the raw meat to the guy, and then they cook it on the grill, and then they give it to you. It's called like hibachi or something. Some buffet areas, they even had that. So back on track with the story. I hope that didn't distract you to a point where you just turned this off. Hope you watched this whole thing. Okay, so I'm sitting there, I'm eating all this buffet food, and back when I was much more naive in like 4th, 5th grade, and this was like my very first buffet, I would just go to the pizza line. I'd grab some pizzas, grab some French fries, some chicken nuggets, get those powdered, dough things, not donuts, that they had at the buffet, and then I sit down and eat that with like a soda or stuff. And sure enough, I would fill up really, really quickly after like one plate, and that'd be that. Well, with my parents being Chinese and Asian, they would not sell for that. Obviously, money was a tight thing, so they really wanted me to spend all my money. And I've actually told this to quite a few Chinese friends, and they said my parents do the same thing when we go to buffets. And it's pretty much because, it's part of our culture to be cheap. I don't know what to say. Well, not cheap, but like we have to use our money effectively, and we have to be really stringent about it. So my dad, he sat me down and he told me, okay, we paid really good money for this buffet. You are not just going to eat this American food which you can get at your cafeteria at school every freaking day. Okay, so you gotta stick to just the seafood, just the expensive food. Seafood is the most expensive. per pound per unit price. We paid this much for your entry fee. You're gonna stick to eating seafood. You don't have to just eat seafood, but try and eat a lot of seafood, because that's the most expensive per unit price here. And that those frozen pizzas you're eating, those cost a small fraction of that seafood in price. So you gotta stay away from all those diversion stuff, okay? You know those French fries there? They are there to fill you up quickly, so that these Chinese buffet people can get the most out of their money. So after my talk with my dad, I realized that it was true. I mean, this store was owned by Chinese people who were also probably pretty cheap. And this is a little tip for you guys going to Asian buffets or buffets in general. If you get suckered into eating like French fries and like big doughy powdery stuff like bread and stuff like that, and pizza, those things are designed to be really cheap but fill you up extremely quick, so that they don't waste as much money. That means that they get more money out of it, because you're paying an entry fee of this much, and then you're only eating like these cheap foods that fill you up really quickly. So that's a tip, and it's not just for Asian buffets. So that was pretty much my story, and then from then on out I realized, okay, when I go to a buffet, I do like these foods, and it would be a shame not to eat any of them. So I usually get like one French fry, one little piece of everything that I like, despite it being cheap, and then the rest I save for the expensive foods. I don't like seafood that much, but I do get a good deal of it, because we know that's freaking expensive. And I'm sure if you've talked to many real Asians who have parents from Asia who have immigrated here, and they've been to a buffet, they'll be telling you the same thing. They'll be telling you, my parents told me you can't be eating these cheap foods at a buffet. So if you're not Asian, and I know there are non-Asian girls and guys watching this video, it's a little, tip for you guys, and a little interesting story for you guys. And I just want to set it off with some sort of moral other than that. And I would have to say, one, if you're like me and you have a huge metabolism and you just don't get fat no matter what you eat, you can still get heart attacks when you're older. I know people who eat very well who still get heart attacks and die or get strokes. And then if you're like me and you eat tons of fast food and stuff, you might want to change that to something more healthy, because despite it not showing on the outside, it showed a lot on the inside. I might do another video on this, but the story was, I tried out for track and field, and I ran as hard as I could. The first time I ran like a 9-minute mile, while everybody else who tried out was running like 5-6 minute miles, maybe 7-minute miles. And I ran a 9-minute mile, and I was so out of breath, and I felt so sluggish after it. Everyone was so much faster, and I realized at that point that I was behind everyone else. Like, even though on the outside it looked I was skinny, on the inside, my lungs and, well, not my lungs, but my arteries were clogged with fat, and it was just really bad. I was pretty much as slow as a typical fat person. So always exercise, always do your best. Don't get suckered in to eating, sucker foods at these buffets. And that's my story for you guys. I have a lot more stories. If you guys like these type of videos, leave a comment if you're requesting a certain type of video. Otherwise, I'll see you guys later, and thank you for subscribing if you did. Thank you guys so much. I'll see you guys later. Peace out. And college is starting pretty soon, so if you guys are in college, good luck. Otherwise, I'll see you at college. Peace.